Welcome to another Ziva Math video. In this video, we're going to write the equation of a line represented by a table. We'll write the equation for our line in slope-intercept form, so in the form y equals mx plus b. We'll calculate our slope using change in y over change in x, and our y-intercept is the point where the line intersects or crosses the y-axis, so it's the y value when x is 0. Let's take a look at our examples. We're going to find the equation of the line represented by this table, and we're going to put it in the form of y equals mx plus b, or our slope-intercept form, which means we're going to need a slope and we're going to need a y-intercept. To find our slope, we're going to use change in y over change in x. And I'm going to start with the first 2 points in the table, so -2, 0, and -1, 1. And if I look at the y values, my y value has a change of +1 from 0 to 1. So my change in y is 1. That's going to go on the top. And then I'll need a change in x. So I'm going to use the same 2 points and go in the same direction. So -2 to -1 is also a change of +1. So my change in x is 1. And that means that my slope is equal to 1 over 1, which is equal to 1. Now that I have my slope, I can put it in place of m in my equation. So my slope is 1. When I put the 1 into the equation, y equals 1x plus b, I don't need that 1 there. So my equation right now is simply y equals x plus b. So I found the slope. Now I still need to find the y-intercept. And the y-intercept is the point where x is 0. Well, the point where x is 0 is here. The y value when x is 0 is 2, so my y-intercept is 2. So the equation of the line represented by this table is y equals x plus 2. We're going to find the equation of the line represented by the values in this table, and we're going to write that equation in slope-intercept form. So I need to calculate the slope, and I need to calculate my y-intercept. And to find the slope, we're going to use change in y over change in x. And I'm going to use the first 2 points in the table. And looking at those y values, that's -6 and -4. Well, -6 to -4 is a change in y of +2. So +2 is going to go on the top in place of change in y. And I can calculate my change in x. I'm going to use the same 2 points, and I'm going to go in the same direction. So -12 to -4 is a change of +8. So +8 will go on the bottom. And because I am calculating slope, if I can simplify here, I need to. Well, right now I have 2 8s. 2 and 8 share a common factor of 2, so I can simplify. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. So my slope is equal to 1/4. Now that I have my slope, I can go back to the slope-intercept form, and I'm going to take 1/4 and I'm going to substitute it for m. So now my equation is y equals 1/4 x plus b. B is my y-intercept, and that's what I'm going to need to find next. And I know that my y-intercept is the y value when x is 0. And looking at my table, I don't have a point in my table where x is 0, but I do know that that point is going to fall here. So I'm going to go ahead and place my x value of 0 into my table. Looking at my x values, from -12 to -4, that was a change of +8. If I go from -4 to 0, that's a change of 4. And 4 is half of 8. So the change in y values to find our y-intercept is going to have the same relationship. 4 was half of 8, so this change in y values from -4 to our y-intercept is going to be half of 2. That's going to be a change of 1. And -4 plus 1 is -3. So our y value when x is 0 is -3. So b is equal to -3, and I'm going to take the -3 and I'm going to replace b with -3 in our equation. And rather than having plus and the -3 in parentheses in this equation, we're going to write it as minus 3. So the equation for the line represented by this table is y equals 1/4 x minus 3. We're going to find the equation of the line represented by this table in the format of y equals mx plus b. And to do that, I'm going to need to calculate the slope and find the y-intercept. For slope, we're going to use change in y over change in x to calculate the slope. And I'm going to start by looking at the y values of the first 2 points. And the y values of the first 2 points are -10 and -7. Well, -10 to 7 is a change of +3. So my change in y is +3. Then for my change in x, I'm going to use the same 2 points and go in the same direction. So 3 to 2. 3 to 2 is a change of -1. So my change in x will be -1. And 3 over -1 is equal to -3. So my slope is -3. Now that I've found the slope, I'm going to substitute -3 for m in my equation. So I'll have y equals -3x plus b, where b is our y-intercept. And our y-intercept can be found where x equals 0. And I don't have a point in my table where x is 0, but I do know it's going to fall here, and I can go ahead and place my 0 there in the table. Well, from 2 to 0, that is a change of -2. And that change is twice the change in x that we saw from 3 to 2. And I can use this information when calculating my change in y value from -7 to my y-intercept. Because -2 is twice the -1, I'm going to take the change of 3 from -10 to -7 in my y values, and I'm going to need to double it. So 3 times 2 is 6. So my change of y from -7 to the y-intercept is going to have to be 6. And -7 plus 6 is -1. So my y-intercept is -1. So b is -1, and I'm going to substitute that -1 for b in my slope-intercept form. And instead of showing it as -1 with parentheses around it, I'm going to have y equals -3x minus 1. So the equation for the line represented by this table is y equals -3x minus 1. We're going to find the equation of the line represented by this table, and we're going to put it in the format of y equals mx plus b. To calculate our slope, we're going to use change in y over change in x. And I'm going to use the first 2 points, and to calculate my change in y, my y values were 6 and 4. That's a change of -2. So -2 is my change in y. It will go on top. Then I'm going to use the same 2 points and go in the same direction for my change in x. So -6 to -3 is a change of x of +3. So +3 will go on the bottom. This gives me a slope equal to -2/3. Now that I have my slope, I can go to my slope-intercept form and I can substitute -2/3 for m in that equation. So now I have y equals -2/3 x plus b, where b is my y-intercept. And my y-intercept is the y value where x equals 0. And I don't have a point in my table where x equals 0, but I know that point's going to fall here, so I can go ahead and place my x value of 0 in the table. Now looking at my x values from -3 to 0, that's a change of 3. It's the same change that we saw from the -6 to -3. So when I'm looking at my y values and I need to place my y-intercept, well, the change in y from 6 to 4 was -2. And because my change in x values was equal, my change in y values from 4 to the y-intercept will also have to be equal. It will need to be -2. And 4 minus 2 is 2. So my y-intercept is 2. So I'm going to take that y-intercept and I'm going to substitute it for b in my slope-intercept form. So the equation for the line represented by this table is y equals negative 2/3 x plus 2. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to Ziva Math for more videos.